White-cap mushrooms had over 100 known carcinogens, but also spinach, kale, lettuce, celery, cabbage, cucumber, broccoli, literally given pages and pages of every plant that you've ever come across in the grocery store, and not a single one had less than 60 known human carcinogens in them.
You walk into the grocery store. You pick up your vegetables, the healthy stuff, the spinach, the potatoes, the tomatoes, the beans. You feel good about yourself. You feel responsible. You feel like someone who has their life together. And then you go home, you cook dinner, and you never once think, could this food hurt me? Here is the truth that most people never hear. Some of the most dangerous substances on earth are sitting in your refrigerator right now. And they are not labeled. They are not behind glass. They are not locked away in a pharmacy. They are in the produce section on your cutting board and sometimes already on your plate. Today we are counting down the 10 most dangerous vegetables in the world. And I promise you, some of these will completely change how you look at foods you eat every single week. Some of them have sent people to hospitals. Some of them have been used as weapons throughout history. Some of them are so toxic in their raw or unprocessed form that a single serving could kill you. And yet, we eat them. We love them. We have learned, through thousands of years of trial and error, through cultures discovering secrets that save generations, how to make the dangerous safe, how to pull the poison out and leave the nourishment in. That story, the story of humans conquering the danger hidden inside their own food, is one of the most remarkable chapters in human history. And we are going to tell it one vegetable at a time. We are counting down from number 10 to number 1. And I guarantee you, number 1 is going to stop you completely. You have eaten it. You love it. And it has a secret that most people never find out about until it is almost too late. Let's get into it. If you are not subscribed right now, the next video I release, the one that could stop you from making a mistake that lands someone you love in a hospital, will never reach you, and you will never even know you missed it. Vegetable number 10. Elderberry leaves and stems, Sambucus nigra. We begin at number 10 with a plant that has been celebrated for centuries as one of nature's greatest medicines. Elderberry syrup, elderberry gummies, elderberry tea. You will find it in every health food store in the world, marketed for immune support and cold relief. Millions of people buy it every year without a second thought. And the berries themselves, when ripe and properly prepared, are genuinely beneficial. Rich in antioxidants, genuinely supportive of the immune system, backed by research. The reputation is real. But here is what almost nobody talks about. The elderberry plant, the leaves, the stems, the bark, and especially the unripe green berries, contains cyanogenic glycosides. Specifically, a compound called sambunagrin, which your body converts directly into hydrogen cyanide. The same poison used in chemical warfare. The same poison that killed countless people throughout history. It is in the stems of the plant that makes your immune-boosting gummies. Now, before you throw out your elderberry supplements, the processing matters enormously. Cooking destroys most of the cyanogenic compounds. Commercial elderberry products are processed specifically to eliminate the toxin. This is not a call to panic. This is a call to understand what you are actually working with. But raw elderberries? Raw elderberry leaf tea, the kind of folk remedy some people still attempt at home? That is a different story. There are documented cases of poisoning from consuming raw elderberry juice, from people who made their own remedies without knowing what they were doing. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, dangerously low blood pressure. In severe cases, seizures. How the danger works. The plant produces these compounds as a defense mechanism. They are its armor against insects and animals that would eat it. When you consume the raw plant, enzymes in your digestive system break down the sambunagrin and release cyanide gas directly into your bloodstream. The reaction happens inside you. The lesson of elderberry. Preparation is everything. The same plant that heals you in one form can poison you in another. The knowledge of how to prepare it, that knowledge is the difference between medicine and poison. Coming up at number 7. A vegetable so beloved that farmers grow millions of pounds of it every year, and its leaves are so toxic that livestock that wander into the wrong field have died from eating them. Don't go anywhere. Vegetable number 9. Kidney beans, Phaseolus vulgaris. Number 9. And this one is going to shake you, because this is not an obscure plant from a remote jungle. This is one of the most widely consumed foods on the planet. Kidney beans, red beans. The cornerstone of chili, of rice and beans, of countless traditional dishes across dozens of cultures. Raw kidney beans contain phytohemagglutinin, a lectin, specifically a plant protein that essentially acts as a biological toxin when consumed in sufficient quantities without being neutralized by heat. And when I say it acts as a toxin, I mean it in a very literal, very documented sense. In clinical studies, as few as 4 to 5 raw kidney beans were enough to cause severe food poisoning in healthy adults. The symptoms come on fast, within 1 to 3 hours of consumption. Extreme nausea. Vomiting so severe it has been described as violent. Diarrhea. In more severe cases, hospitalization. And here is the part that catches people who think they are being careful. Slow cookers do not always get hot enough to destroy the lectin. In fact, kidney beans cooked at lower temperatures, such as those used in slow cookers set to low, can actually have higher concentrations of active phytohemagglutinin than raw beans. The slow heat activates the lectin without destroying it. There are documented outbreaks, institutional food poisoning cases, restaurant incidents, people who soaked their beans and put them in a slow cooker for hours and served them and ended up in the emergency room with their entire household. The solution is specific and non-negotiable. Kidney beans must be boiled vigorously at 100 degrees Celsius for at least 10 minutes before consumption. Not simmered. Boiled. Hard, rolling, vigorous boiling. That is what destroys the lectin. That is what makes the bean safe. Raw kidney bean flour. Raw kidney beans in a salad. Kidney beans from a slow cooker that never reached a full boil. These are not safe. And most people have no idea. The knowledge is ancient. Traditional cultures always cooked their legumes hard and long before eating them. The problem is modern shortcuts. The problem is convenience culture assuming that food safety knowledge is automatic. It is not. It has to be learned. At number 6, I will show you the vegetable whose toxin was used by the Soviet Union as a chemical weapon during the Cold War, and you ate it for breakfast this morning without blinking. Stay with me. Vegetable number 8. Cassava/tapioca, Manihot esculenta. Number 8 is one of the most important food crops in human history. Over 800 million people depend on it for daily calories. It is the third largest source of carbohydrates in the world, behind only wheat and rice. It feeds much of sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. And in its raw form, it contains enough cyanide to kill a person. Cassava, known in different parts of the world as yuca, manioc, or tapioca, contains linamarin, a cyanogenic glycoside that releases hydrogen cyanide when broken down by enzymes in the plant or in your digestive system. Bitter cassava varieties, in particular, contain concentrations high enough to be acutely lethal if consumed raw and unprocessed. The danger is well documented. In parts of Africa where famine or conflict disrupts normal food preparation, there are recorded mass poisoning events. Communities eating improperly processed cassava out of desperation and suffering cyanide poisoning on a scale that affected hundreds of people at once. But here is the extraordinary thing about cassava. The people who have depended on it for thousands of years developed sophisticated, time-tested processing methods that remove virtually all of the toxin, peeling and discarding the outer skin. extended soaking in water, fermentation, sun drying, long cooking. Each step drives off cyanide as a gas. Each step is essential. The problem arises when those steps are skipped, when people are hungry and in a hurry, when traditional knowledge is lost or ignored, when cassava is treated like a potato, just a root, just food, safe to eat however you want. How the toxin works. Linamarin itself is not immediately dangerous. But when cassava tissue is damaged by chewing, by cutting, by fermentation, an enzyme called linamarase breaks down the linamarin and releases hydrogen cyanide. The very act of eating triggers the poison. Your teeth are the activation mechanism. The modern tapioca in your bubble tea and your pudding cups is perfectly safe. It has been processed extensively. But this is worth knowing. The gentle, innocent-looking root at the base of one of the world's most important food systems is, in its natural state, chemically armed. Number 5 is coming. And it is a vegetable so closely tied to one of the most important moments in Cold War espionage history that its toxin has its own entry in intelligence agency files. Stick around. Vegetable number 7. Tomato plants, leaves and stems. Solanum lycopersicum. Number 7. And this is the one that farmers know, that serious gardeners know, that people who work in the food industry have quietly understood for a long time, while the rest of the world eats tomatoes by the millions of tons without ever suspecting. The tomato fruit is safe. It is beloved. It is one of the most consumed vegetables on earth, though technically it is a fruit, a fact that has inspired more arguments at dinner tables than possibly any other fact in botany. But the tomato plant, the leaves, the stems, the unripe green fruit, the vines, is a member of the nightshade family, and it carries the calling card of that dangerous family. Alkaloids, specifically a compound called tomatine and another called solanine, both of which are toxic to humans and animals. Livestock that graze in tomato fields can be poisoned. Dogs that eat tomato leaves become ill. People who consume large amounts of tomato leaves in teas, in home remedies, in experimental cooking, report nausea, cramping, and in more serious cases, heart rhythm disturbances. The dose makes the poison here to a greater extent than some other vegetables on this list. You would have to consume a substantial amount of tomato leaf to experience serious symptoms. But the key word is serious. Milder symptoms are achievable with surprisingly small amounts, and sensitive individuals or small children are at greater risk. More importantly, the tomato plant is part of a pattern you are going to see throughout this list. The Solanaceae family, the nightshades, contains some of the most toxic plants in the world alongside some of the most important food crops. Tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, and peppers are all members of this family. They are all closely related to belladonna, which is lethal, to jimsonweed, to the mandrake of medieval witchcraft. The edible parts of nightshade vegetables are safe. The rest of the plant, in most cases, is not. The family has been playing this double game for millions of years, rewarding the animals that eat and spread its fruit while protecting its leaves and stems with alkaloid armor. And for farmers who handle tomato plants all day, there are well-documented cases of tomato workers experiencing contact dermatitis and mild systemic symptoms from prolonged exposure to the leaves. It is not a curiosity. It is an occupational health reality. Tease. Number 4 is one of the most surprising entries on this entire list. A staple of Asian cuisine for centuries. Delicate, elegant, expensive, and if you eat the wrong part, it will cause you to hallucinate and potentially stop your heart. Don't leave yet. Vegetable number 6. Rhubarb leaves. Rheum rhubarbarum. Number 6. The plant experienced gardeners are already nodding about. The plant that sits in millions of backyard gardens across North America and Europe every spring, producing those beautiful crimson stalks that go into pies and crumbles and jams. while the broad green leaves attached to those same stalks contain one of the more reliably toxic substances in the plant kingdom. Rhubarb leaves contain oxalic acid at concentrations high enough to be considered poisonous. They also contain anthraquinone glycosides. The combination is, by any reasonable measure, dangerous for human consumption. Historically, rhubarb leaf poisoning was a documented problem during World War I in Britain. When food became scarce, the government issued guidance suggesting people eat rhubarb leaves as a vegetable. People followed the advice. People got sick. Some people died. It became one of the more tragic public health errors of a very difficult period. The symptoms of rhubarb leaf poisoning are not subtle. Burning sensation in the mouth and throat, nausea and vomiting, abdominal pain, in significant doses, kidney damage, because oxalic acid binds with calcium in the blood and forms calcium oxalate crystals that deposit in the kidneys. Seizures. In extreme cases, cardiac arrest. The stalks? Perfectly safe. Tart, delicious, wonderful in baked goods. The stalks are the reason rhubarb has been cultivated for centuries. But the leaves are so reliably toxic that the standard advice from food safety authorities worldwide is simply, do not eat them. Do not cook them. Do not experiment with them. Remove them from the stalks, discard them safely, and move on. What makes rhubarb particularly worth highlighting is the contrast. The useful part and the dangerous part are physically attached to each other. Every rhubarb stalk you have ever eaten came with its own built-in warning system, held in the leaf above it, waiting for anyone who forgot where safety ends. Most gardeners know this. Most experienced cooks know this. But every year, there are cases of poisoning, usually from curious individuals who wonder whether cooking or boiling the leaves might make them safe. It does not. Heat does not fully neutralize the oxalic acid at concentrations present in rhubarb leaves. Coming up, the vegetable at number 3 that is the basis for one of the most tightly controlled biological weapons programs in the history of modern intelligence. This is real. This is documented. And most of you bought it at the store last week. Vegetable number 5. Bitter almonds. Prunus dulcis var. Amara. Number 5. And before anything else, yes, almonds are technically classified as the seed of a drupe fruit, and botanically speaking they occupy an interesting middle ground. But in culinary tradition worldwide, they are treated as a vegetable-adjacent food crop, they are grown and harvested like a crop, and their danger is too significant and too instructive to leave off this list. The sweet almonds in your trail mix are safe. The bitter almond is a different variety of the same species, Prunus dulcis var. Amara, and it contains amygdalin, a cyanogenic glycoside that releases hydrogen cyanide when broken down in the digestive system. The numbers are stark. Between 5 and 10 raw bitter almonds can be lethal for a child. Between 50 and 70 can kill an adult. There is no antidote you can keep in your pocket. There is no neutralizing substance you can take afterwards. If you eat enough raw bitter almonds, you have started a countdown. Bitter almonds have been used as poison throughout history. The Romans knew about them. The ancient Egyptians used almond-derived cyanide in executions. The characteristic bitter almond smell. The smell of marzipan, which is made from bitter almond extract, is actually the smell of benzaldehyde produced alongside the cyanide release. It is one of the reasons forensic scientists are trained to recognize the smell of bitter almonds at crime scenes. The bitter almonds toxin is destroyed by heat. Roasted, toasted, cooked bitter almonds are safe to consume. The processing drives off the cyanide. Bitter almond extract, the kind used in small amounts to flavor amaretto and certain pastries, is made from steam-distilled bitter almonds that have had their cyanide removed. The flavor remains. The poison is gone. What remains is one of the most elegant flavor compounds in cooking. That rich, slightly exotic, slightly floral almond note that makes certain pastries and confections unmistakably themselves. Something that beautiful, something that beloved, with something that lethal underneath. The story of bitter almonds, in a way, is the story of this entire list. Number 2 on this list was used as an assassination tool. A real assassination. Documented. International incident. A vegetable you can buy in any grocery store was the key ingredient. That story is coming in just a moment. Vegetable number 4. Taro root, Colocasia esculenta, raw. Number 4. And this one is elegant in a dark sort of way. Taro root. The foundation of poi in Hawaiian cuisine. The base of countless dishes across Southeast Asia, the Pacific Islands, West Africa, and the Caribbean. One of the oldest cultivated crops in human history, grown for over 10,000 years, and completely inedible and genuinely painful to consume in its raw form. Raw taro contains calcium oxalate crystals, not in dangerous systemic concentrations like rhubarb leaves, but in a different and in some ways more insidious form. The crystals in raw taro are shaped like tiny needles, packed into specialized cells called idioblasts, and when you bite into raw taro, those cells rupture and the needle-shaped crystals embed themselves into your mouth, throat, and tongue. The sensation is described as intense burning, itching, and a feeling of being stung by dozens of small needles simultaneously. Your mouth swells. Your tongue feels like it is on fire. Swallowing becomes painful. If you were to consume enough raw taro, the swelling could theoretically affect the airway. This is not a theoretical warning. In parts of the world where taro is commonly grown and consumed, children occasionally bite into raw taro out of curiosity and are immediately, painfully, memorably educated about why adults cook it first. The cooking solution is complete and effective. Heat dissolves the calcium oxalate crystals. Properly cooked taro, boiled, steamed, roasted, or baked, loses its defensive mechanism entirely. The crystals are gone. What remains is a mild, starchy, versatile root that is genuinely nutritious and genuinely delicious. The heat transforms an armored plant into a gentle one. What taro teaches us: plants do not want to be eaten. They have not evolved to be food crops. They have evolved to survive. And the calcium oxalate needle system in taro is one of the most physically direct and immediate expressions of that survival strategy in the entire plant kingdom. Your mouth is the battlefield. Cooking is the peace treaty. The top 3 are coming. And I promise you, number 1 is the most surprising vegetable on this entire list. Something that shows up in kitchens everywhere in the world, that has a quiet, devastating secret hidden in plain sight. Stay with me all the way through.
Vegetable number 3. Potatoes, green and sprouting, Solanum tuberosum. Number 3. And this is the one that surprises people the most, because no vegetable on earth is more ordinary than the potato. More universally loved, more deeply embedded in the cuisines of every continent. Billions of servings eaten every single day. Completely unremarkable, completely safe, except when it is green, except when it has been sitting in light too long, except when the sprouts have started to develop, except then. The potato is a nightshade, and like all nightshades, it produces glycoalkaloids, specifically solanine and chaconine, as part of its chemical defense system. Under normal growing and storage conditions, the concentration of these alkaloids in potato flesh is low enough to be safely metabolized by the human body. You eat your potato. Your liver handles the tiny amount of solanine. No problem. But expose a potato to light. Let it sit too long. Let it develop those soft green patches beneath the skin. Let the sprouts grow. And the solanine concentration rises to levels that can cause real harm. Solanine poisoning is not pleasant and it is not subtle. Gastrointestinal symptoms first. Nausea, cramps, diarrhea, vomiting. Then neurological effects. Headaches, dizziness, confusion. In severe cases with very high consumption of green potato, the neurological effects can progress to hallucinations, paralysis, and in historically documented extreme cases, death. There are documented fatal poisoning cases in the historical record. In 1899, an entire class of students in Berlin was poisoned by soup made from green potatoes. Multiple hospitalizations, multiple deaths. In 1979, a documented outbreak in England involving an entire school. The safe approach is simple. Cut away any green areas with a generous margin. Cut out sprouts completely. If a potato is extensively green throughout, do not eat it. Do not assume cooking removes the toxin. Solanine is heat stable. Survives boiling, frying, baking. The cooking does not save you. The discarding saves you. Store potatoes in cool, dark conditions. The darkness is not just for freshness. The darkness is for safety. Number 2 is almost here. The Cold War assassination vegetable. The intelligence files. The real documented history of a food crop used as a weapon. You will not believe which one it is. Vegetable number 2. Castor bean plant, Ricinus communis. Number 2. And the story that comes with this plant is not mythology. It is not speculation. It is documented intelligence history, and it centers on one of the most potent biological toxins ever identified by modern science. The castor bean plant, Ricinus communis, is cultivated worldwide for castor oil, an industrial and medicinal product extracted from its seeds. You have heard of castor oil. It has been used as a laxative, as a skin treatment, as an industrial lubricant. It is in cosmetics. It is in some pharmaceutical products. The oil is safe. What remains after the oil is extracted from the castor bean is ricin, one of the most acutely toxic naturally occurring substances on Earth. A dose of ricin the size of a few grains of salt can kill a human being. There is no antidote. It works by blocking protein synthesis in cells throughout the body, causing a cascade of organ failure that proceeds methodically and unstoppably once a lethal dose is absorbed. The assassination this vegetable is famous for. In 1978, Georgy Markov, a Bulgarian dissident and journalist working for the BBC World Service in London, was killed by a pellet of ricin injected into his leg via a modified umbrella tip while he waited for a bus on Waterloo Bridge. He died 3 days later. The weapon was a sphere of ricin smaller than the tip of a pin, fired from an umbrella by an assassin later linked to the Bulgarian secret police and the Soviet KGB. A vegetable, a common plant grown for oil production, transformed into a weapon used in an act of state-sponsored assassination in one of the world's most prominent cities, in broad daylight with an umbrella. That is the scale of toxicity we are dealing with. Ricin has appeared in terrorism investigations, in postal threats to political figures, in laboratory security protocols. It is classified as a potential biological weapon. And it comes from the seeds of a plant you can legally grow as an ornamental in many countries because of its striking palm-like leaves. The castor bean plant is number 2 not because of what happens when you eat it. It is number 2 because of what it can be turned into, because of the gap between common crop plant and weapon used in Cold War assassinations and how terrifyingly small that gap actually is. Number 1 is next. And it is going to be more surprising than anything else on this list. Because you are not thinking about danger when you eat it. You are thinking about dinner, about comfort food, about family recipes. And it has been quietly, gently, chemically armed the entire time. Vegetable number 1. Lima beans, raw, Phaseolus lunatus. Number 1. And I can already hear the reaction. Lima beans? Really? Of all the plants on this list, all the cyanide, all the ricin, all the solanine, you are putting lima beans at number 1? Yes. And by the time I finish explaining why, you are going to understand completely. Raw lima beans contain linamarin, the same cyanogenic glycoside present in cassava, the same compound that releases hydrogen cyanide when broken down by digestive enzymes. This is not a trace amount. This is not a background level. This is a measurable, meaningful, potentially lethal concentration of a cyanide precursor in one of the world's most widely grown and widely consumed vegetables. In many countries outside the United States and Europe, lima bean varieties are cultivated that have much higher concentrations of linamarin than the varieties approved for sale in regulated markets. The Food and Drug Administration in the United States actually limits which lima bean varieties can be sold commercially, specifically because of cyanide content. The beans on your grocery store shelf are the safe ones. They were selected to be safe. Other varieties sold elsewhere in the world without those regulations can contain 10 to 15 times the cyanide concentration. In parts of Africa and Asia, lima bean poisoning is a documented public health issue. Communities depending on higher linamarin varieties as a primary protein source, during food shortages or poverty, sometimes consuming them undercooked or improperly prepared, and experiencing cyanide poisoning as a result. And this is why lima beans are number one. Not because they are the most toxic item on this list. Ricin from castor beans is objectively more lethal gram for gram. Not because the processed, regulated versions you buy at your store are dangerous, they are not. Lima beans are number one because they represent the full truth of this list. The truth that the line between dangerous and safe is not drawn by nature. It is drawn by human knowledge, by regulation, by preparation, by selection, by thousands of years of accumulated understanding about what a plant will do to your body and how to change that outcome. The danger in a lima bean is real. The safety of your canned lima beans is also real. Both things are true simultaneously. The difference between them is not the plant. The difference is the knowledge applied to the plant. And that is the story of every vegetable on this list. Elderberry becomes medicine when you know how to process it. Cassava feeds 800 million people when you know how to prepare it. Kidney beans become a beloved staple when you know to boil them hard. Taro becomes a delicacy when you know to cook it through. Green potato becomes safe when you know to discard the green parts. Every single entry on this list is an argument for food knowledge, for understanding what you are actually eating, for respecting the fact that plants did not evolve to be food, they evolved to survive. And the extraordinary story of human civilization is, in large part, the story of our ancestors staring down dangerous plants and figuring out, generation by generation, how to make the dangers safe. That is why you are here. That is why knowing this matters. Not to be afraid of your vegetables, but to understand them completely. Full recap. Number 10, elderberry leaves and stems. Cyanogenic glycosides in the raw plant. The berries are beneficial. The rest of the plant is not. Number 9, kidney beans. Raw phytohemagglutinin causes severe poisoning from just 4 to 5 raw beans. Hard boiling is non-negotiable. Number 8, cassava. Raw linamarin releases hydrogen cyanide when digested. Traditional processing saves 800 million lives annually. Number 7, tomato plant. Leaves and stems solanine and tomatine alkaloids toxic to animals and humans. The fruit is safe. The rest of the plant is not. Number 6, rhubarb leaves. High concentration oxalic acid. Fatal in large doses. The stalks are safe. The leaves are not. Never cook them. Number 5, bitter almonds. Amygdalin releases hydrogen cyanide. 5 to 10 raw seeds can kill a child. Heat destroys the toxin. Number 4, taro root. Raw calcium oxalate needle crystals cause intense burning and swelling. Completely neutralized by proper cooking. Number 3, potatoes. Green and sprouting solanine levels rise with light exposure. Heat-stable cooking does not protect you. Discarding the green does. Number 2, castor bean plant. Ricin from processed seeds is among the most acutely toxic natural substances known. Used in Cold War assassinations. Number 1, lima beans. Raw cyanogenic glycosides in many varieties worldwide. Regulated markets protect you. The knowledge that made them safe is the real story. Bonus 1, always boil legumes hard. Every bean, every lentil family member deserves a proper hard boil before you eat it. Do not rely on slow cookers alone for kidney beans. The 10-minute vigorous boil is the rule. It is not a suggestion. Bonus 2, green means stop. Any vegetable developing a green color it should not have, potatoes turning green, garlic shoots going off, is worth examining before eating. For potatoes specifically, green is a chemical alarm. Listen to it. Bonus 3. The leaves are not always food. Most people know to eat the root, the fruit, the stalk, the seed. The leaves are often a different story. Tomato leaves, rhubarb leaves, potato leaves, elder leaves. These are not garnishes. These are warnings. Bonus 4. Traditional preparation methods exist for a reason. When a culture has been soaking, fermenting, boiling, drying, and processing a plant in the same specific way for hundreds of years, that is not superstition. That is applied food safety science, discovered through trial and error across generations. Respect the process. Bonus 5. Regulation is a form of knowledge made law. The fact that your grocery store lima beans are safe is not an accident. Someone made a decision about which varieties to allow. Someone tested the cyanide content. Someone set a limit. The invisible safety infrastructure around your food is one of the great unsung achievements of modern civilization. It is worth knowing it exists. There you have it. 10 vegetables. Some rare, some exotic, some sitting in your kitchen right now, with stories that are genuinely more dramatic than most people ever find out about. Stories of assassinations, of famines, of wars, of the quiet, extraordinary human achievement of making the dangerous world safe enough to eat from. If this changed how you think about even one vegetable, if this is something you're going to share with someone who needs to know it, do one thing right now. Hit that like button. It takes 1 second, and it is the difference between this information reaching the people who need it and disappearing into the algorithm. And drop a comment below. I want to know, which entry on this list surprised you the most? Which one are you going to think about the next time you are at the grocery store? I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to hear from you. If you are not subscribed yet, now is the moment. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because every week we bring you content like this. The real stories behind the ordinary world. The knowledge that changes how you see everything around you. See you in the next one.